The movie, almost within 10 minutes, just went nosedive.
Wow, 10 minutes. Hi, I'm Teresa. Welcome to Cocoon Cast, where we deep dive into movies and discuss all things cinema.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Today we'll be discussing the new movie, The Marvels.
Let's get started.
Carol Danvers hasn't spoken to her goddaughter, Monica Rambeau, in the over 20 years since her superhero career started. But that's about to change when the two of them find themselves constantly displaced with newcomer Kamala Khan, whenever any of the trio use their powers. Finding themselves up against a ticking time clock and a new threat, the Marvels must work together to resolve their past in order to safeguard their future.
Rebecca, you at first were really excited about this movie, and my understanding is it shifted pretty quick for you.
The movie, almost within 10 minutes, just went nosedive.
Wow, 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
So, flirking crazy, or what do you think?
It's flirking crazy how fast this movie just went and stayed there. It's one thing for a movie to go downhill, but to stay there, I was almost livid with the filmmakers for letting this come out to print. And that's even before we get into the sound issues that some screenings are having.
Let's talk about this, because this franchise, you love characters, you were thinking that this was going to be obviously much better than it turned out.
I'm a huge fan of the first Captain Marvel movie. I remember being almost one of the only people in my friend group that went, hey, give this a chance. And not just because Carol's one of my favorite characters in the Marvel universe. There's a lot of depth to that movie that I keep finding myself coming back to. I like different layers. The soundtrack was good. I love the attention to detail that it came to focus on Carol and really show her mental struggles. And this movie attempted to do that with all of the characters, but I feel like it just fell flat in terms of character emotion and portrayal.
And I'll be honest, I am new to the franchise, meaning I remember the first one. I remember the Ms. Marvel show. And I would understand myself going, I'm a little lost. I'm still trying to figure it out. But the reality is I, was sitting next to you and you didn't look bored. But like you said, you looked irritated.
Bored is very different than irritated.
I would agree with that. But what was your thought around that in terms of where did it go wrong for you?
I felt like the movie wasn't taking itself seriously as it could have. Now, granted, I understand Kamala is a more comedic point of view character, but I felt like it just reduced her to these punchlines, these jokes. In some ways, it felt like the agency is stripped from these characters until it absolutely becomes necessary to the plot that they need it.
And I'm so disappointed with you in the respect that Kamala, I was excited, right? She's the first Muslim superhero. She's a young gal. She's 21 in real life. She's 16. And I thought, wow, they're getting some diversity in there. She's young. Like you said, there's some energy around her. And for me, it was really hard because one minute she was such a fangirl of Captain Marvel.
And that's consistent with her character.
Right. She was just, she's cute and she's funny. And then at different points, she's like, okay, now we need to save the world. And I was having a hard time going back and forth with her. I don't know, did that feel consistent to you? Was that just me that just said, well, she's trying to save the world, but she's still kind of hung up on her fangirl situation?
It felt consistent that Kamala is fangirling, and it felt consistent that she does have a serious side to her. What I felt was disappointing in this movie for Kamala was I felt like she was just a prop for emotional support, I guess you could say.
Well, and I liked her character in general, meaning she's younger. And I know we had watched the show.
The show gives Kamala so much character development. I feel like that's wiped away in this movie.
Well, and it sounds really stupid, I'm sure, because the characters backwards and sideways. But for me, it took me a few minutes to go, oh, that's the same girl. That's the same woman. That's the same character. Because like you said, I remember her in the show being much more powerful and engaging and exciting. And the beginning that set her up, right, she's in her bedroom and she's sketching. And my understanding is she's actually a comic book artist as well. in my mind, I thought, oh, hey, maybe she's drawing, maybe she's the person who's drawing the sketches that we're seeing on the screen. She has this cute little connection with her brother, her family. That's where I started to get not lost. I understood what they were doing, but it just felt heavy. They were going back and forth, and it just felt like it dragged out a bit.
The other thing I was really frustrated about with this movie is it felt like everybody's supporting cast was reduced to a joke.
Now tell us more about that.
I feel like in the Ms. Marvel show, you really see Kamala's supporting cast provide depth to Kamala, but you also start to see their point of view. This, it just felt like I was watching the first episode of the show again, and you stop there, and then all of a sudden the movie happens. Instead of there's 6 episodes, which is a few months of growth for Kamala and her supporting cast.
I guess for me, I'm thinking the movie would either expand more, like you're saying, 6 episodes. And 6 episodes is pretty brief to have somebody grow. However, it would make sense to me that the movie would be, because she's such a part of it, right? The Marvel, she's one of 3. She, to me, was a bright spot in the movie. The other actresses, I felt bad because I was actually looking forward to hearing more about them.
I love Teyonah Harris's performance. She's consistent as Monica. If you fell in love with her in WandaVision, she's hit the nail on the head in terms of that character. I'm really happy to see Monica Rambeau get the spotlight in a Marvel cinematic project, not just shunted away to the television.
We were talking about her costuming and her role. And to me, I was a bit confused of what her superpowers were, what her role was, although I was very intrigued because I do remember her mom and, the connection with her and Captain Marvel. And I just, it felt she was underutilized to me.
She was underutilized until the end. And it's really sad because Monica is an excellent character in the comics. In fact, she leads the Avengers for a while.
Wow. See, I wouldn't even know that based on her. I understand she's one of the primary actresses in this movie, but it felt, I don't know if it felt it or if it experienced it. It just wasn't compelling. And as like you said, at the end, and I remember seeing that, I think that was at in the trailer, correct? Her end glory.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but most of the moments that do spotlight Monica's journey as a superhero are at the end. You do see a fair amount of her emotional journey, so I will give props to the filmmakers for discussing everybody's emotional journey. It just felt like they flattened it. They threw everything away for cheap jokes, including, but not limited to, a bunch of Flerken jokes where they're...
The Flerkens... I'm so dense around that. I'm like, the cat. I keep wanting to call them Furkins. Furkins, and they're Flurkins. I get that. There was comic relief, right? A bunch of kitties, but it was also said, one of our team said, oh, I know where this is going. Bam.
Was not me.
Yeah. And it was, okay. It was cute. It was creative. One particular scene I found actually amusing beyond the cats, because I did find the cats pretty funny. Although apparently predictable cats at this point, even though they're an alien species, they're apparently pretty predictable, even in the alien land.
Who's a good kitty, Gus?
Yeah, I know. I can't unsee that. There was a point when Captain Marvel went to see, she was in another planet. She brought, the other Marvels with her, and the way that they communicated was pretty creative. I appreciated the fact that at one point she just said, "Can we talk?" And I can't remember which one of the Marvel gals said, "Oh, well, how is that going to work?" And she said, "Oh, they're bilingual. They can actually communicate by talking." And it was cute. But, that was the look.
That was my look through 90% of this movie.
Well, and that's why I'm laughing. That was your look. But even the parts where, the cats are floating around and they're supposed to be, my thought is chuckles. It was quiet and it was a crowded theater. We were right when it came out, Dolby. it was silent. And I don't think it was people were so gripped. It was, oh, that was funny. I'm like, and everyone, nothing around me. I was disappointed in that. And I don't think the acting was poor. I think the acting was actually pretty good.
The casting department did a good job with this movie. Unfortunately, the material doesn't hold up. There were several moments, however, that I felt added seriousness that needed to be felt in the movie, and the tone was played completely straight. When you play something completely straight, I think it's tough to hold on to that and carry it through to the next scene, especially when the comedic beats keep interrupting this movie. And I feel like this movie, if you would have just stuck to the seriousness and maybe a pinches of humor, would have been great. Instead, it's humor and then pinch of seriousness.
So you do it the other way around then.
I feel like the story could have been pretty serious. You have somebody's planet dying because of one of the key heroes of the MCU. This is a perfect opportunity to deconstruct heroics. In fact, they almost went there several times with Kamala. Yes. And I could tell they were going for it, but instead they felt like they had to throw in these almost humor-like moments that felt like, oh, here's a quick laugh here, here's a quick laugh here. You could have built up to that moment in humor, but also kept the seriousness. And I felt like this movie, unfortunately, did not land either one particularly well.
I think that's a good statement, because one of the things that I did notice is this movie is the shortest MCU movie. And so part of it, I thought, well, maybe it's because it's a shorter movie, they didn't have time to do it. I think I was greatly disappointed because, as you said, the first 10 minutes, even the first 20, this planet is dying, they're trying to save it. I was compelled. I wanted to know more. And then as I know more, I felt let down. And I always weigh a lot of these superhero movies with the fact that I know less. And I think, well, is it me because I know less? Maybe I'm missing the nuances. Maybe there's a backstory. If I knew that, it wouldn't feel that way to me.
Speaking of missing the nuances, I'd be curious to see if our cinema community would comment below. Did you have audio problems during your screening? There were several points in our screening where the voices were kind of jumbled, and it was important plot points. And we're sitting in a Dolby Cinema theater, complete silence, except for the movie. So we want to know. We also would be curious to know, if you've seen the movie, did you like it, or were you disappointed like us?
Yeah, I am disappointed is a good word for that. And it's an unfortunate word when describing this, because MCU gets a lot of press. It's well produced, well directed, and it just fell short. Do we have any questions from the box?
If you're not a huge follower of the MCU, watching the TV shows, keeping up on all the different aspects of the universe, is this movie an easy one to walk into and understand, or are you going to be lost?
I think you're especially going to be lost with Carol's backstory. To be fair, the other two leads, Monica and Kamala, they do a decent job of filling you in what's happened. You're going to feel a little uneasy because there's some knowledge in the back of your mind. You're like, wait, I know I'm missing something. But I feel like with Carol's story, they didn't do a good enough job. They showed the impact of Carol's story, but I think you're going to get much more out of it if you watch it.
And I would say, similar to what you're saying, there were parts where they piped in memories or went back to different pieces. And typically I don't see that with movies like this, superhero movies. Therefore, I was impressed with that there was even a thought. But there was one scene I found out later that's actually not in a movie at all. It's just, oh, by the way, this is what happened. And it wasn't as if you went, hey, that actually happened and you missed it. It's, oh, that never happened. But we're trying to fill in the gaps. So the effort that the director took, right, Nia DaCosta, I actually appreciated that. That actually said, hey, maybe if you haven't seen these other shows, movies, and things, we are going to try to help you. So the effort wasn't completely lost on me.
I think that was a really smart move of Nia, considering a lot of people that I've talked to on the street are feeling drowned by the Marvel output right now.
Drowned is quite the word. I know we've talked about fatigue and superhero fatigue. I am overwhelmed. My understanding, this is the 33rd MCU movie.
And that's not including any of the shows. Like
Correct. And to me, that's excessive. And you like movies, so maybe you're like, 33's, make it 34, make it 34.
If they do it better, I will watch the movie.
Absolutely. Do we have any other questions from the box?
For people that are die-hard MCU fans and they really want to go see this movie, what are some of the positive things they can look forward to?
I think one of the positive things you can look forward to is that the stakes are raised. There is a very important plot point near the end, and you will have to watch both post-credit scenes to see this, but there is a payoff, and it's definitely going to set up not only the next Avengers movie, but it's also going to set up the greater span of the universe going forward.
I would say for me, one of the positive, and there are some, granted, we're talking more about the negative. However, the positive to me was the diversity.
I like that, yes.
I
that's a good point.
appreciated that a great deal. And having women superheroes. I mean, granted, it's no Barbie. It's, everybody's not wearing pink and dancing. But I enjoyed that. And the diversity of age, how they came together, what their tagline is, bringing people together. And I like that. So it's not the solo superhero. It's, hey, as a team, this is what this looks like. To me, that was interesting and definitely a positive.
And I liked how they talked about being alone as a female superhero. I know it's discussed a lot with male superheroes.
I'm Batman.
And it's kind of like, we're going to be the bro testosterone brigade, I guess. But I like the fact that they talked about Carol feeling like she was all alone, that she had to be all alone, that she had to do it all. Kind of bring him in your Barbie comment.
Correct. Oh, wow. That's good. Ooh, good connection. Rebecca, it is that time of the show where we have 5 superhero moths. All
boy.
Flying. Their capes are going to get caught up here if we don't have them come
I
down.
might zap a few of them with a laser today.
Right on. 1 to 5. What do you think?
One in a wing.
1 and a wing. Number one reason for a 1 and a wing.
There's not enough to keep this movie grounded. And I'm not just saying that because most of the superheroes can fly in this movie.
Is it worth a watch to you, or what do you think about that?
Wait till this one hits streaming. You'll thank me later.
All right. My moths are flying. They're back. They decided to come join me for a bit. Oh, it's a tough one. I'm between... Oof. I think it's a 1 and a wing for me, too.
Oh, boy.
I was leaning toward a 2, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, there's not enough for me to say, yay, let's do 2, which is really sad. I enjoyed the characters, but I didn't enjoy the movie. I enjoyed the effort. Like I said, I think the directing was good in the respect of the director. She's so young. She's in her early 30s. This is quite an undertaking. I was impressed by that. The actresses were younger as well. Good performances. Samuel L. Jackson is always a good time for me.
Monica, you gotta fly.
No.
Black girl magic.
And they were evenly balanced, too. That was the other thing I was really impressed with.
Yes, I agree with that. And to me, that's a 1 and a wing. To me, it is worth a watch. I don't know the upside of seeing it in the theater, to be honest with you. I think watching it in the Badger Den or watching it at home, waiting for streaming, it feels reasonable to me. And for me to rate it higher, it would need to be more even, as you were saying. It would need to compel me more. And it would need to be, I need to go to the theater and I need to see this now. Not, well, it'll be out soon. Maybe just watch it.
Feels like the only reason if I knew what I knew then, and I know now, I feel like the only reason I'd watch this is literally for the last 15 minutes, plus the extra credit scene.
Correct. And it sounded like you were more excited about the end credits or the end scenes than you were the actual basis of the movie. It didn't sound like it furthered the franchise in your mind.
Which is sad because I love these characters. These are all characters that can provide unique narrative directions for the MCU, and they just wasted them.
That's the unfortunate piece. Thanks for joining us. We're always excited to create experiences to bring our cinema communities together.
Watch the notifications this weekend for our weekly show, Movies and More, where we will have more movie reviews, the latest Hollywood news, and commentary with snark, meant to amuse.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and to share our channel.
If you enjoyed this movie review, you might click the link to check out our review of Priscilla, or click the other link to watch last week's show, where we reviewed What Happens Later.
Remember, cinema community movies are
Better
together.
together.
Thanks for watching. See you in the next review.